humans. It's not that God doesn't dwell all over the world, all over the universe, all over the cosmos. He created it all. It's where God has chosen a place for us humans to be able to come and sort of become neighborly with God. The Hebrew word, interestingly enough, shechunah, is the same root word as shechina and the same root word as shochen, and in Hebrew it means a neighborhood. In other words, that this is the place where you humans, Jew and non-Jew alike, were required to come and bring their offerings there at the particular times that they were required to show thankfulness and thank you to Hashem, to God, to receive forgiveness, whatever. So when we think about this word kisavo, we have there two interesting aspects. In Hebrew, there is a word called bo, come. That's the same root word as savo, which has in it also the bays and the aleph, bo, come. So kisavo, when you will come, or when you will enter, is signifying to us something that we are to always remember. That when we serve God, keeping the commandments, to the Jewish people, the commandments that apply to them, to the Kohanim, the commandments that apply to them, to the non-Jewish nations, the commandments that apply to them. All humans have to go ahead and fulfill the commandments that apply to them as humans in this world. And each one has responsibilities. So when you enter this land, which God gave you, don't think you made it. Don't think you conquered it. Yes, you had to lift your hands, but it was God's power and promise to the Jewish people that this would be your holy land. And you're to be the sovereigns there to take care of it. And all the other nations of the world, when they would come, would bring the offerings to the house of God, which was on the Temple Mount. And there the Kohanim, the priests as you would call them, would go ahead and prepare the offerings on behalf of the people. So at which point, according to the Torah, does entering really occur? What does it mean, enter? Do we say that as soon as a person puts his hand in a room, he has entered or she has entered? Or does it have to put most of his body or her body into the room to be considered entered? So what is entrance? What is the Torah telling us and trying to guide us in how we are to ultimately serve God? So at which point does a nation become considered the sovereigns of that nation, of that land? When just a few people arrive? Or do they all have to arrive and settle before we can say they have truly entered the land? What makes the land yours? What does it say in the deed of sale, so to say? So the Talmud answers, partial entry is not considered entry. Just putting your hand in or your feet in or just hopping in and then leaving is not considered entry. The Talmud in Chulin, page 33, side 2, states, as Rashi explains at the beginning of our Parsha, when you enter the land, refers to a time when they conquered the land, divided it, and settled it. In other words, there has to be an actual possession occurring to the land. And this teaches us a powerful lesson in the daily life, which is what the Torah wants us to learn from these sentences. You should enter yourselves, ourselves, totally, not just superficially, but wholeheartedly into everything that the land requires. And the same is true also when we serve God. It should be with a wholeheartedness, not with a superficial or tokenistic way, but in a way that we see that the person is immersed, he or she, in what it is that they're doing totally, so to say. It's like if you're doing a painting in the middle and suddenly your wife comes to you and says, we have to take out the garbage, or whatever. And you say, hold it, honey, hold it, hold it. I'm now in the middle of finishing off this Picasso. He's totally immersed, or she's totally immersed in what she's doing. So when a person becomes fully immersed in what he's doing, there is not merely a quantitative improvement, but a qualitative improvement. And this radically affects the manner in which he is involved. If he is so immersed to a point where you could say he's obsessed with what he's doing, you can't interrupt him or her. They're busy. So in order to reach a state of total, you could say, immersion or entering into the land, a person must temporarily relinquish any other cares or concerns and dedicate himself totally, unrestrictedly to the matter at hand, with utter devotion. That is the key. And that concentration then brings about a truly remarkable effect on him and on the product that he's creating. He must surrender himself and not allow any personal biases or concerns to interfere with the purity of his actions, of what he's doing. So there are a variety of ways how people can be involved in doing something. It's almost like layers. Some people are multitasking types. They can do this, that, the same, but they're not really totally involved in what it is that they're doing. There's a certain, you could say, superficiality there. So in the daily life that a person goes through, and he interfaces with the world and copes with his day-to-day life, it is possible for him to peel away, you could say, his various involvements, and to sort of be involved in a lot of things. But if you really want to have the whole person in it, then, and a deep soul connection, so to say, at that point you have to sort of be the essence of what it is that you're doing, totally focused on what it is that you are doing. These are key ingredients in how a person becomes really dedicated to what he or she is doing. It's not a superficial act. It's an internalized essence that is occurring. And when he succeeds, he or she succeeds in doing so, the activities will become one indistinguishable entity. He or she will be totally immersed to a point of obsession, you could say, with what he or she is doing. So by way of an illustration, when the soul enters the body to bring it to life, there is a total, you could say, entering. We know that when a person is born, he or she inhales, right? I don't know if any of you have been in the birthing room, but that's what occurs. There's an inhalation that comes, almost like, in a sense, indicating there's an internalization of the life force entering into the dormant body. And when a person passes away, there's an exhalation, you could say, a detachment that occurs. And that is when the soul is leaving. So the soul enters the body to bring it to life. You could say it's totally entering in and gives life, and it continues life till 120 years. It's not merely enlivened the body, it becomes one with the body. It becomes alive, it engages the essence. And so the soul and the body truly become one. So entering really is what Torah wants of a Jew, and of all people for that matter, is that they should not be doing it superficially, but they should internalize it to such a degree that they become one. And that is the lesson from this week's portion of Parshas Ki Savo. When you come into the land, the Jewish people didn't want to come into the land. You know that? Why didn't they want to come into the land? They had it very good in the desert. The manna from heaven. They didn't have to plow any fields. They didn't have to plant. They didn't have to harvest. Everything was provided for them. So they had time to just sit and study the Torah that they had been given at Mount Sinai. It was only after they entered into the land that God said, now you have to till the soil. No more manna from heaven. Well, that spoiled generation said, well, we don't want to. We'd like to stay the way it is till now. And God said, no. The purpose of entering the land is for you to make the physical, corporal land become holy through the mitzvahs that you do with it and in it. That's the reason why I created humanity, as it says in the beginning of the portion of Genesis, that God told Adam and Eve, you are created la'avdo, to work it, u'l'shomro, and to guard it, tikkunolim, take care of it, don't mess it up. Those are the teachings of the portion of Ki Savo that we should try and emulate in our own lives, that when we do the Torah and the mitzvahs, they shouldn't just be superficial, because God knows what is in the heart of every person. And God knows when the person is really there with it, or he's just going through the motions. And a way how to accomplish a internalization of something when we're doing it is to study it, to understand it, to question it, to become one with it, so to take it apart. And at that point, you're able to go ahead and be truly and sincerely connected to God, the Creator. Any questions? So that is the portion that we read, and that is the lesson that we are able to go ahead and emulate. We're in the month of Elul. Yes, question?
How do you sustain once you've entered in and continue
to be connected?
Right.
Well, the reality is that the human is a distractible type of person, entity. So in order to be able to maintain that connection, though there will be, you could say, ups and downs in it, you have to be in an environment and in a daily life, so to say, that is guided by the Torah and the mitzvah. That is what gives us that anchoring, so to say, in the godly and the holy and the spiritual ways of the Torah and the mitzvot, the Bible and the commandments. That's what it is. It's like, though there will be times when you'll have twisted your ankle, God forbid, and it'll be painful for you to walk to shul or whatever, but because it's an important prerogative of yours and priority, you walk it. That's how you maintain something, that you adhere to it. Yesterday was the 18th day of the month of Elul, and it was the birth of the founder of the Chabad Hasidic movement, the Alter Rebbe, known as Shneur Zalman of Liadi. Came from the village city of Liadi. His name was Shnei Or, which translated in Hebrew means two lights. And Zalman is sort of a Yiddish reflection of bringing the two lights into the physical world. So he was a genius in the Torah teachings of Judaism. He started out being a great genius in the Talmudic, you could say, revealed aspects of the Talmud and the Torah. But he sought something more, a spiritual connection on a spiritual level rather than just on an intellectual level, which he was very great. And in order to do that, he started to delve into and study the teachings of Hasidus from the Baal Shem Tov and the Maggid of Mezrich, Dov Ber. And with that, he became the great Shnei Or, the two lights, the lights of the physical, Torah, the Talmud, and the lights of the esoteric teachings of the Zohar, of Hasidus, and of the time. So, the birth of the Baal Shem Tov occurred in the year 1698. The day his holy teacher and master appeared to him in 1724, the day the Baal Shem Tov became revealed in the year 5494. Until then, he was sort of a hidden tzaddik, righteous individual. In the year 1745, which was the birth of the Alter Rebbe, Reb Shneur Zalman, so on that particular portion of the Shabbat of Savo, which is the one that we just had, it was the 18th of Elul, like it was yesterday, in the year 5652, 1892,
Which date is that in
1892.
English?
What?
Which date is that in English?
In English it's 1892.
Which date is it yesterday?
Yesterday was 2024, the English date.
No, it's
1892 versus 2024. So do the math. So after Kabbalah Shabbos on that day, it will be when you come into the land, the Hebrew word Eretz, which means land, that the eternal your God gives you for an inheritance, and you will inherit it and dwell in it. So on that sentence, the Medrash notes that Eretz is an idiom, it's like the root of merutza, running. The Hebrew word to run is rutz. So the Medrash is telling us that Eretz, the running, and it also means the Hebrew word ratzon, which means the will or the desire of a person. All the same root word. When you attain the level of ratzon, desire, that is a gift from above, and an inheritance for every one of the Jewish people of Israel, then your service, your avodah, is you will dwell in it. If you attain that level of will to want to fulfill the Torah and the mitzvahs, then you will dwell in it. In other words, same words, but giving you a slightly different message. It's dependent, your dwelling in it is dependent upon your being able to want to fulfill the purpose of the land and the commandments tied to it. So how do you do that? You internalize all you have attained, bringing it down in a settled manner, in a structured manner. And how should you do it? You shall take the first fruits and put them in a basket. Draw down the spiritual lights into your own lives, into your vessels, your body, your homes. And you shall go to the place that the eternal your God will choose. So what does that mean? A Jew must know that when he goes from one place to another, he is not going on his own, but is being directed from above. You're not going on your own. God runs the show. And in one way or another, he directs. If he wants you to end up in Timbuktu, you will win a ticket to go to Timbuktu. But if he doesn't want you to be in Timbuktu, no matter how much you will plan and want to go there, your sparks of holiness are not there, even though you think they are. And therefore, you must always remember that. You're not going on your own, but you're being directed from above, and the intention and purpose in this is, what's the intention and purpose for your being where you are? To to win, to dig ditches, to cause his name to dwell there. That's what the sentence says. That is to make God's presence known in this locale where you live, where you walk, where you drive, where you play. People can see and say, that's a Jew. He's from this ancient, or she's from this ancient people called the Jewish nation. Israel. Am Yisrael Chai, the Jewish people live. Unfortunately, sometimes we are prone to be misled in what we think is important, and then God reminds us that He runs the show. If you don't do what He wants you to do, it gives you headaches to deal with. You can read them in the headlines. So this is what it means, Kisavei el ha'aretz. When you come into the land, you're coming there because God has directed you to go there. And what are you there for? To be the role model for all the other nations and the people that will see you and hear about you, and hopefully emulate you. So this 18th day of Elul, what is the great importance of it? In a nutshell, the unique importance of Chai Elul, the 18th of Elul, is explained. What?
Which corresponds to the English.
Which was yesterday. What was yesterday's English date, Laura?
No, it doesn't always come out on the same
No, but
day.
what was yesterday's?
Yesterday was 21.
So yesterday was the 21st of September. Is explained in several places in the talks of the previous Lubavitcher Rebbe. This date is the birthday of the Baal Shem Tov, as we said before, in the year 1698. It is a date on which his holy mentor, Achia HaShiloni. Achia HaShiloni was a prophet from ancient times, revealed himself to him in the year 1724. The date of the revelation of the Baal Shem Tov, which was in the year 1734, the birthday of the Alter Rebbe in the year 1745, and the day that marks the beginning of the work of the Avodah, the service of the newly approaching year. What is it? It's the days that lead up to Rosh Hashanah. Rosh Hashanah is going to be this year on the 5th of October. Let me see my calendar. It starts actually on the 3rd. Wednesday night, the 2nd, is the start of Rosh Hashanah, the head of the year. It's the eve of Rosh Hashanah. So that'll be Wednesday evening. If you come to the various Chabad houses or my synagogue, it'll be at 7:30 p.m. The service is very short, Wednesday night, and it is associated with a variety of symbolic foods that we eat, apples dipped in honey. And then Thursday and Friday, the 2 days of Rosh Hashanah, at 10 a.m., we go ahead and we blow the shofar at 11 o'clock. The service starts at 10 a.m. And that fulfills the concept of Rosh Hashanah. So it's not called the New Year, even though it is a new year. It's called Rosh Hashanah, head of the year. Why is it called head of the year, not the new year? It has two parts in it. The concept of head of the year is that as the head goes, the rest of the year goes. So we are crowning God to be king over humanity. We blow the trumpets, like when you crown a king, or shofar. But the most important thing about it also is that as humans and as the Jewish people, we are the ones that are the actors on the stage for the course of the year. So we accept the sovereignty of God over us. And then there is the concept of it's the new year because Adam and Eve were created on that first Friday of the first week. So it is a new year for humanity. Rosh Hashanah, the first day of Rosh Hashanah, was always the day when Adam and Eve were created. So the 2 days, that Friday and that Saturday of that first week of creation, are the 2 days of Rosh Hashanah. Depends on how humanity takes care of its world. And it should be a better and a good year. But we must always remember that there is within us the physical body, the physical needs, and then there's the spiritual body called the soul. And that has spiritual needs, spiritual food, so to say, the mitzvot that we do. And when we do them, we go ahead and create a better and a peaceful world. Thank you, everyone. Look forward to seeing you next Sunday here at the Brian Glazer on the second floor, room 1. Shana Tova Umtuka. A good year, and it should be a sweet year.
Amen.
Sometimes good is in the form of that you didn't get hit by the car crossing the street because you tripped and you bruised your knee. So that's not sweet, that hurts. But we want it to be a sweet year, visibly good, that we're able to go and say and enjoy health, well-being, peace and harmony in the world. Thank you, and Shana Tova to everyone.